No, thank you so much, Chairman. I think my question is to someone that can answer, and this really is a sincere question about how much do we subsidize? Is it $2 billion that we subsidize for private companies to, destroy, cut down our trees and on our lands? Is it around that much? Who can answer that question?
I can answer it, I can't break it down as to how much of it literally goes to logging, but I'm guessing that most of it does go to logging and by the other names, yes. I had somebody tell me, oh, we're putting in a lot of money for restoration. Restoration is one of those euphemisms, so
I think, Ms. King, what my struggle, and as I was listening to this, I wasn't planning on asking a question. And I'm really just distraught that you were talking about being able to protect people's home where they live and who's going to pay for it. I'm wondering who is paying right now for the subsidies?
Taxpayers.
Who's paying for this? That's right. So we're basically subsidizing, or I don't know, I hate that word because Americans we are basically paying people to make money off of destroying our land. And from what I understand and what I've read in the past is U.S. forestry loses money every year, millions of dollars every year because of that. Is that correct?
Yes, $2 billion a year. That's an economist study that I have looked at.
And so I think it's really important that when we talk about who's going to pay for things, that we also talk in consensus who's paying for this now, who's paying for the destruction now. And it sounds like the American people are. And that's unfortunate because I think many would agree that that is not where they want the money spent, especially on for-profit entities that again are destroying land. It is really hard as someone that lives in frontline communities that for many of my residents, we really don't feel seen or heard when much of these discussions are held. And it really does matter when we hear folks say who's going to pay for things, is we see the fact that we are paying for pollution in communities like mine. We're paying for dirty water, dirty air, and in this essence, as we center around the destruction of our lands across our nation, that it is the American people that need to be aware that that's who's paying for it. So when community and folks are actually coming to the table and saying, look, we need your help because what you all are doing is destroying our livelihood, that we're hesitating and asking who's going to pay for it. And so I just wanted to be able to say that, Chairman. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that, even though I wasn't scheduled to. And I really sincerely appreciate the panelists. And Ms. Maders-Knight, that's why you're here. I want you to know I hear you. And I'll yield a minute or so that I have left of anything that you think many of my colleagues need to hear about the impact on our Native American and our Indigenous communities.
Yes, I want to talk about the 2018 Camp Fire. And when we live in this area, all of that took place in our Mechoopda tribal territory. And Tetra Tech was a major corporation that was able to move in and get all the funding, the contracted funding, the tree removal, hazard tree, everything. We had local groups and local community members that we all got trained. And then I created a training program through the Mechoopda Indian tribe to train folks on how to manage not only forest health, but how to do wetlands, how to do meadows. And these are what would be considered fire breaks. So I have to use language that's used by the timber industry and also by the forest industry, but I have a unique language of my own as a traditional ecological knowledge practitioner. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And I usually teach children because children are actually way more open-minded than Congress. And so what I'm really telling you is that the management of these federal forests really need to be done in cooperation with every tribal nation in the United States. You have a lot of hands on deck and you have a lot of economic investments in each of those tribal territories that allow for workforce development. This workforce development can also hire and train non-native folks to work in the area. I think it's really important to strive to have workforce development when we're coming into this discussion instead of, any other finger pointing. But I also think that we also have to understand the terms that I use are also because I need to cross-reference between the colonial world and the world that I live in today.
Representative Ocasio.